But also, like, if you think in the earliest of civilizations, women especially, men too, but we did everything together. We raised our kids together. We did all of the work that was necessary for survival together. And so that's what I'm so passionate about is like, I want to bring you home to yourself to really know, love, and trust the depths of who you are. And then bring other women in the circle who are doing the same kind of work, right? Because we can only meet each other at the depths in which we've met ourselves. And I want to
Mm.
hold space for the full spread of who you are and give you the permission to evolve and to grow and to try on new identities and to let go of old ones and to really just feel free.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm your host, Shay Wheat, founder of Grace and Ease Productions, where we support entrepreneurs like you to profitably scale your business with events, allowing you to make sales faster with greater predictability and less team burnout.
Mm.
Today, I want to chat with you about not the tactical stuff that I tend to lean towards, but I want to talk about some of the non-tactical things. One of those being, do you ever just have those moments, and I'm talking to the ladies here specifically, do you ever just have those moments of feeling like you're just going through the motions? Well,
Mhm.
our guest today offers a path for women who feel stuck, helping them break free from routines that leave them feeling disconnected and like no one in their circles really shares their intentional approach to life and growth. Now, whether it is from the stage behind her Gather in Growth podcast microphone or within her signature virtual communities, she fosters conversations to help women heal, grow, evolve, and build empathy bridges to transform from the inside out. Please help me welcome Emily Reuschel to the Creating Powerful Impact stage. How are you?
What an intro. I am amazing after that. Man, you made me sound like such a baddie.
That's I mean you are,
Thank
right?
you.
Like let's go ahead and own it. And
I love it. I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
good. I'm glad. I'm excited to have you. Mainly because it's a little bit different than some of the guests I've interviewed in the past. Mainly because when you started your business, and maybe you can explain a little bit about this, but when you started your business, you were attracting people obviously similar to yourself in like rural communities. But I would
Yes.
love for you to maybe share like why rural communities, what was coming up for you being in a rural community, and then how has it evolved in your business into what it is you do now and what you talk about and how you help and support women
Mhm.
in a lot of the things of going through the motions and yeah, so we'll start there and then we'll kind of probably go down some rabbit holes.
Yeah, well, as I think a lot of entrepreneurs can identify, is I never meant to go down this path. I feel like you're in one of two boats. You're either like, I was an entrepreneur through and through from the minute I was born. I knew that was what I was going to do. Or you're like, I don't know, this just kind of picked me and here I am. Very much my path. I've always been a super impact driven person. Professionally, I started as an elementary school teacher, and then I was in the nonprofit space as a YMCA program director working with youth and families. And it was there that this part of my story began. About halfway through my time at the Y, I was postpartum with my second. I had this 6-month-old baby in my arms. Talking about going through the motions. I had gone back to work way too early, as so many of us do. I was pumping like 8 times a day. I was working a bajillion hours a week and coming home at the end of the night being like, I am so exhausted and angry and burnt out and overwhelmed and frustrated. I did all of the things. I got married, I got the job, I got a different job. Like, I love the work that I'm doing. I work with great people. I have these two beautiful kids that now I'm coming home and I'm frustrated that they even exist because I'm so overstimulated. That's it. Like I,
Mm,
I I checked all the boxes. Like you said, that do all of these things and then you'll be happy ever after. Amen. And that's where so many of the women I work with now have gotten to that point. And then I internalize so much guilt and shame of why can't I just be happy? I have everything I've ever wanted. I have such a beautiful life. And that is true. But that was really the seed that told me like there is so much more in store for you. And I think sometimes when we think about more, we talk about more money or more power or more fame. But for me, it was like more intentionality, more to life than just showing up and going through the motions. And so I had this moment on the couch where I realized like I don't want to exist like this anymore. And I think the first place I have to start is with my physical health. Like I have this beautiful baby girl. I've got to do this differently than the byproduct of 90s and 2000s diet culture. What does it look like to really take care of myself from a place of love instead of shame and self-hatred? And so that launched me into this health journey where I went from being the opposite of a runner to a half marathoner, which led me into this whole world of personal growth and development and realizing, wow, I have agency over changing my habits. Like, what is a habit? Like, oh my goodness, like I can set these really incredible goals while living in a small town. I live in a town of 42 people and not 42,000, 42 people.
Only 42 people? The
42 in
whole town?
the whole town. Yes, and our next closest town is like 600. It takes 12 towns to make up my kid's school district. We're 45 minutes away from the grocery store, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I walk out my back patio and I see fields and trees, and it is just like where I feel at peace and at home. I didn't grow up in agriculture. I'm in my husband's hometown, and so that's kind of the culmination of what brought me to the work I'm doing today, because here I am kind of figuring out two different pieces of my life of who am I as a farm mom, a farm wife, like in this whole world of agriculture that I didn't grow up in, but I really love and I want to find my place in. And then also now I have this awakening to, wow, like I can be really intentional and have this really big life. Like, but I don't see anyone else in my immediate circle talking about this. I cannot be the only woman living in a small town in the middle of nowhere that doesn't want to live anywhere else, but still isn't okay with just like going through the motions and
Yeah.
accepting life for, you know, the hustle and grind that we've been so conditioned to believe that it needs to be. And so that catapulted my journey in starting an Instagram account purely just to try to connect with people, which led me into, you know, facilitating a habit challenge and, you know, growing this whole community where I was coaching without realizing that I was coaching and creating a lot of content just as a means to build connection and serve and kind of pour into this passion project. And, you know, fast forward a couple of years, I basically realized I was running a business without running a business. And so literally on a total leap of faith, I went to a retreat to learn how to monetize my Instagram and came home and told my boss the next day I was leaving.
Wow.
And I did not have a business plan. I didn't know a single darn thing about running a business. I just kind of had some ideas and a whole lot of hope and a dream. And so that led me down a path of coaching and facilitating masterminds for women like me who were wanting to be intentional with their personal professional growth in small towns and rural communities, which then kind of just opened up this whole depth of understanding of why we feel like we need to do these goals in the first place. It got me into a mental health journey where I unpacked my addictions to approval and achievement as means of defining my self-worth, which just, you know, brought me down so many different paths. And now I'm the most aligned I've ever been and continuing to serve women in small towns and rural communities and well beyond. And ultimately, the through line is building really intentional, purpose-filled lives that we love. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. As you and I were talking right before we started recording, like I'm not the business coach that's like, here's how to optimize everything, and here's the marketing plan, and here's the systems and structures. Like there's other people who are gifted at that. What I want to do is really help women come home to themselves and build realities that they actually are obsessed with existing in every single
Mm.
day. I want to like help you untangle from the inside out. Where are your motivations coming from? How do you define your worth? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis that gives you energy or drains you energy? Whose expectations are you living into? And how do we, you know, unpack and rearrange all of that and put it all back together in a way that like feels really awesome, doesn't just look good on paper?
Yes, all of those things. And like you said, it really isn't just for people in rural, right?
Absolutely.
Like I think all women can relate to the same thing of like, okay, why do I believe that I had to check all of these boxes? And I've gone
Hmm.
and I've checked all of the boxes, and not like happily ever after fairy tailing it right now,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so what does that actually mean? What does it mean for myself and what direction I want to go and who am I becoming? Because who you were in your 20s is not who you are in your 30s and your
Yeah.
40s and 50s and beyond, right? Like it's
Right.
an evolution.
Hmm.
So I think it's fantastic that you are, going through the process yourself and then essentially reaching your hand down and going, okay, this is what it worked for me. This is how I've been doing it. This is, how it
Hmm.
could possibly support you as well. Let me reach down and help pull you up and also be in
Yes.
community.
Hmm.
I was just telling somebody before our call here that in my business, I've got the clients that are, wanting to just focus on the lead gen all of the time. And I have the clients that are actually starting to see what I call the shift into community.
Hmm.
The ones that actually build community and are in it more for the retention side of it, right?
Yes.
Not the constant grind of bringing people in and having churn. It's the
Hmm.
building community. And
Yeah.
so I would love for you to speak a little bit towards like your community
Hmm.
and like what is it that the women that you see that you work with are craving? And is it very similar to what I'm seeing on my end?
Yeah, I love that you bring that up. And, even just reflecting on my own experience, like that's where I started was community. Like I said, I didn't come into this expecting to have a business. I just wanted to find my people.
Yeah.
And find my people I did, right? And, if you talk about what are the women that I'm connected to craving, the women that I'm working with, the women who are, listening to my podcast, who are engaged in my social media, I think we're at a point in time where we are more theoretically accessible and connected than ever, but on a soul level, more disconnected than we've ever been. Like we are craving real vulnerability, authenticity to be seen and heard and understood for who we are in the good, in the celebration, and also to really the depths of ourselves. And that's where I'm seeing so many women who are like, I'm surrounded by good people. I have good relationships, but I don't feel like anyone really knows me. And I don't even know if I really know myself. Like, who am I in the absence of motherhood? Or who am I in the absence of the church in which I was raised? Who am I in the absence of, this profession that I've held for the last 15 years? And
Mhm.
so I think that there's this deep internal craving to like come home to ourselves and come home to each other. And in so many different ways, like come home to the way that we were designed to be. We were never meant to live in these concrete boxes. We were never meant to do life alone. And that's especially as entrepreneurs living in the middle of nowhere. That's what we try. Like, I'm going to sit at my dining room table and build this business, which is such a blessing. But also, like, if you think in the earliest of civilizations, women, especially men too, but we did everything together. We raised our kids together. We did all of the work that was necessary for survival together. And so that's what I'm so passionate about is like, I want to bring you home to yourself to really know, love, and trust the depths of who you are. And then bring other women in the circle who are doing the same kind of work, right? Because we can only meet each other at the depths in which we've met ourselves. And I want to
Mm.
hold space for the full spread of who you are and give you the permission to evolve and to grow and to try on new identities and to let go of old ones and to really just feel free.
Yeah. And like joy, right? It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
what actually brings you joy? Not the
Mm,
cookie cutter answer of like, oh, my kids and me doing this and my
right.
job and da da da. It's like, no, what
Mm,
actually brings you joy and
yeah.
excitement?
Hmm.
And if that's a question, posing to the audience right now is, and if you're going, um,
Yeah.
I don't know, speak to that. Emily, would you
Yeah.
like speak
Hmm.
to that woman that's going, fudge, I don't know if I actually know what brings me joy.
You know what? And for the person who's feeling like that, like, oh my gosh, you are so not alone. And please don't let your inability to answer that in this moment sink you deeper into shame, because that's what we do. We're like, oh gosh, I'm such a piece of trash. I don't even know what makes me happy. Like, let's just meet you with compassion of where you're at. Okay, you have been existing for so many other people, and you likely don't even know what brings you joy because you've been pouring into your kids or into this job that you love or into your other relationships or to community organizations that really matter to you. Like, you are at the place you are today, because you are so good and so worthy. But I really encourage you to sit with us. And I think a lot of times we're looking for these really big answers. And I like to bring it down to the like cellular level of like, in a given day, I want you to notice like what are the glimmers that you're like make you smile or that like make you feel a little good or like make you laugh. Like let's just start there. Like can you just write a running list of the things that you like didn't hate in your day? Okay, then let's like follow that. Okay, like maybe you heard this song and then you're like, "Wait, oh, actually going to this certain type of concert, like I feel really alive in that kind of setting." Like great. Add that to your joy list. Maybe you're like, I was walking outside and I noticed the sunset and oh my goodness, like I don't remember this last time I stopped and looked at the sunset. Great. Let's add sunsets to your joy list and try to go like look at them 3 times in the next week. And so I think, really simplifying it down to, this doesn't have to be spa days and bubble baths, not that those aren't glorious, but like what are the little ways that you are infusing things that you already like? And if you're like, I literally, Emily, I do nothing in my day that makes me happy. Okay, let's start there. Like, what's your favorite shirt that you feel like is ridiculous to wear? Put it on tomorrow. I don't care if it has sparkles all over it. That's wonderful, right? Like, what colors did you like when you were 12? Like, what were you interested in before the world told you that that was weird or immature? Like, and I think as entrepreneurial women, a lot of times we're like, oh, well, if I'm going to crochet or paint or dance, like I'm going to monetize it. Like, let me just make some money off my hobby. Hi, also
Well,
guilty.
yep, yep.
But like dance parties with your kids in the kitchen, snuggling on the couch. What is it when we say, oh, my kids make me happy? Well, what actually is it? What are the moments where you feel like, yes, this is it? Is it like laying with them in bed and like snuggling their little sweet smelling heads? Like, add that to your list. Is it Taylor Swift? Like, great. Go look at one of the 8 million videos of grainy live streams, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think it's been so cool over the last couple of years, specifically as women, is like, we've been handed so many permission slips of like, you don't have to abandon who you are. You can be a powerful business owner. You can be the breadwinner for your family. You can be doing all these things. And you can also like love Barbie and love Taylor. And like, it's not mutually exclusive. And so
I
this is
think
gonna.
also, especially the entrepreneurial woman
Mhm.
who is like, oh, let me go ahead and monetize this as well because I have to be thinking about it
Yes.
from that brain. When you actually do step into the joy more,
Hmm.
you automatically and energetically attract your audience to you that much easier.
Oh my
So
gosh,
it's
yes.
not like the super hard grind.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, well, of course somebody just showed up in my email asking to connect with me, right?
Hmm.
Because you were so lit on fire about the sweater that had the sparkles on it that you ended up
Yeah.
putting it on social media, just geeking out about it. And someone's like, oh my God, I totally want to work with her. Yes,
Yes. That's
right?
so true. That's so true. And that goes back to like, we just really crave authenticity right now. And I know that's such a buzzword and blah, 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 whatever. But like, part of it is allowing yourself to be authentic with who you really are, not who you have been perceived to be in the past, but like, just a concrete example for years, my wardrobe was like black and gray and navy and olive green because I felt like that's what grown-ups did. My house is like so millennial gray and white because that's what you did in 2018, right? And then over the past couple of years, I don't know if anyone listening has gotten their colors done with House of Color or something like that. Yes, okay. I
Yes.
am a spring and instantly was like, oh, well, no, duh. That was literally what my closet looked like in 5th grade. And now I don't know if
Those
you're record.
colors, the ones you're in now, or were the black, the green, that is so not spring. Like that's
Yeah,
probably
I
what more
know.
autumn, winter kind of colors. And
So
so it's like dragging you down, right?
yes, yes. And so that alone was like such an awakening and a permission slip to like, oh my gosh, I should send you a picture of my closet. It literally is a rainbow. I am a walking, talking bag of Skittles. For anyone, I don't know if you can see this on video, but I have like a sunset rainbow wall. And if you can't see it, go to my Instagram and scroll back to like August when I painted it. Like it is so me and so makes sense for my personality. But it was just like one more way that I had like tried to change myself without even consciously being like, I don't like bright colors anymore. I like black because that's what grown-ups do. But that's basically what I had done.
Yeah.
But like now it's just like my trademark. And people know that, like, wow, you are literally the brightest person in the room, which
Yeah.
tracks because your personality is like that.
So yeah, and spring's personalities are very like
Hmm.
springy and jumpy and like all of the colors and the oranges and the, fluorescent or whatever, depending on the palette, right?
Hmm.
I'm not. I'm summer, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit more like I'm a blue diamond summer.
Hmm.
So it's like I have a lot of blues and I have like, greens and the purples, but they're like a little bit warmer than a spring, right? But that's also all like my personality too.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can jump into a little bit of spring and meet you where you are, but in
Hmm.
my everyday normal, I'm more of a summer,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's fascinating. If you all have not gotten your colors done by somebody, it is fascinating how just stepping into what is actually naturally your color palette will
Hmm.
change your energy and your personality.
Hmm.
Because when I go back and I put on a black shirt, like for work, and I'm like so drained. And it's like,
Yes.
ugh. It's
Yes.
fascinating.
Yeah, and
Absolutely
it was
fascinating.
such a physical representation for me of all of the big and small ways that over a lifetime, right? This isn't like a light switch overnight, but over a lifetime, I had like put away these pieces of myself. And going back to the joy conversation, that I had like kind of dimmed my light or dampened my curiosities because, I was like textbook, you're too wig, too big, too weird, too much, too loud. And you hear those types of things enough times and you just get like smaller and quieter and like grow up. And that's where I think a lot of us get to the point that we're like, I don't know who I am anymore because I have self-abandoned so many times
Mm,
along the way in
mm.
favor of fitting in or acceptance or professionalism or whatever, that no wonder we wake up at 30 something and we're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like these babies have sucked all my milk and my soul. Like, so yeah, if
Yeah.
you need a place to start your joy, start with getting your colors done. 10 out of 10 recommend.
Well, and I think it is also an acknowledgement, right? So it's
Mhm.
like I would love to hear like what are some of the questions or the thoughts that are going on in the women's heads before they find you.
Mm,
Like what is it that they're saying to themselves? What is happening in their world? What is going on that they
mhm.
go, fudge, I've got to change this.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a big question because I think everyone has different flavors of it. But even just thinking about who I was before I started the journey that brought me to today, it's like, oh my gosh, why can't I just get my shit together?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, whether it's my retreats or my masterminds, there's kind of this running joke of what people think that they're going to get out of an experience versus like the journey they go down of like this self-awakening and like figuring everything out. And they're like, I would have never explored this on my own, but I ended up exactly where I need to be. Like, wow, what I thought I was going to get out of this experience and where I'm at are two totally different things. And I'm like, I know. Like, do you understand why this is so hard to market?
Right.
But I think there's a lot of like, if I can just build this business, if I can just do this thing, then everything will be better. If I just lose the weight, if I just, it's like that arrival fallacy. Like once I reach this goal,
Mhm.
then I will feel worthy. Then I will be enough. Then my peers will think that I've made it. Then my parents will think that I'm successful. Like then we're like chasing these arbitrary goals that are going to make us feel a different way. And the reality is like, and I speak on goals a lot. I help women with all sorts of goals. Okay, so I'm not bashing goals, but the problem is a lot of times when we ask you like, oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or what are your goals for 2025? We like are arbitrarily picking something that we've seen someone else do or we think is going to make us feel a different way or that is like the next step in our path or that like we saw that chick do online. And they're not actually aligned with the day-to-day reality we want to exist in, right? Like we reach goals on certain benchmarks, right? We get married, we have a baby, we release the book, we start the business, like whatever, we get the promotion, we buy the house, yada, yada, yada. Those are like one moment in time. And then what do so many of us do? Okay, great. Now what? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how successful your launch was. You're immediately like, could have been better. What comes next? Like
Yeah, it's
we
never
don't even,
looking back and it's not
no.
celebrating the wins. Like I remember starting out, I literally had to have a book called Book of Wins because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't celebrating anything. I was like, okay, great, next. Okay, next,
Yes.
next. Right?
Yes.
Yes, that
And
totally resonates.
yeah, so we're chasing this like ever moving target and it's constantly feeling us trapped and not enough. And so where I see a lot of women coming into work with me is they're on that like, oh, if I just do this, then this will happen. If I just do this, then this will happen. And so a lot of the work that I do is like almost like a 360 approach to goals. Like let's scrap off the idea of like what are your goals on the table? Like let's talk about what you want your day-to-day reality to be like. Let's talk about your dream life. Let's talk about if you're waving a magic wand, what is 100% truth? What do your relationships look like? Of course, what do your finances look like? What is your health like? But like, what's the legacy that you're leaving
Mhm.
behind?
Yeah.
How's your mental health? How's your marriage? Like all of that, like the way you feel on an average Tuesday is actually your life.
Yeah.
And so if you're constantly in pursuit of these benchmarks, of these goals, and then immediately feeling like garbage afterwards or like stuck in this shame cycle of needing to do more, like that's not enjoying your life. It will never,
Yeah.
never be enough. And so that's a lot of the work that I do with my clients is yes, I want to help you reach your goals, but let's make sure that they're really grounded in how you want to wake up on Wednesday versus like something that's going to be a really cool post on social media because you did it and then you move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Oh my gosh, Emily, like we could probably talk for hours.
That
Um,
tends to happen.
right? So many good things are just dropping diamonds today. If somebody was excited about, like, yes, I get it, I understand it, I need some help and support, or what is the
Mhm.
next step? How can people connect with you? And do you happen to have a gift for our audience today?
Absolutely. Okay, so you can find me on Instagram as my most active platform at Emily Reuschel, Emilyreuschel. I do have a website, emilyreuschel.com, and it is like in need of a massive makeover. So if you are like obsessed with Show It and want to do that for me, that would be great. My podcast is called Gather and Growth, and we are constantly exploring everything that I've talked about today and oh so much more. And I have a lot of new programs coming in 2025. So best place to get connected to that would be to, connect with me on social and stay tuned. I did just announce a retreat that I'm hosting in Yellowstone because I just want to go to the mountains and get connected with nature and like camp under the stars and sit around campfires with women. So I have a few spots open for that, at least at time of recording. And then otherwise, I would love to invite you into, we're talking about like what's the first step. The first step in my journey was really taking inventory of my habits, how I was spending my time and energy on a day-to-day basis. So I have a habit challenge called You Do You 82 that I would love to invite listeners to. And for so many women, it is their opportunity to actually meet themselves where we're at. Like having a habit challenge isn't massively unique, right? 75 hard exists. There's last 90 days. There's this, that, and the other. But a lot of those are like, here are the 5 habits that I think are going to change your life. What I want to invite you to do is like, What do you need to actually build or break in order to feel the way you want to feel, to nurture your physical, mental, emotional health, to show up in your business, in your life, in your relationships the way you want to? So, what makes You Do You 82 unique is that it's really you do you. You choose 6 habits to intentionally build or break for 82 days through the lens of progress over perfection, which is like theoretically simple, but a really transformational mindset to commit to something and being okay with it not being perfect. Because if you are a box checker like me, you want to fill in every single little thing every day. And if you go 3 days without doing it, you just want to rip that up in the trash and pretend like it never happened. UDU 82 is really a challenge to continue recommitting to yourself. Or if there's a habit on there that's really not working, then it's an invitation to be like, well, why is this not working? Did I put this on here because someone else did it and I thought it'd be a good idea? Or is this actually what I need in my life? And this isn't a choose 6 habits that worked really well for you when you were training for a half marathon 5 years ago. This is what do you need right now. And so I'll drop the link in today's show notes. You can also go to udu82.com, but I'll give you a more direct link in the show notes, and I'll just automatically email you trackers and a workbook and all sorts of information about it. So,
Good. Yes, Emily, thank you so much for that. My last question for you.
mhm.
What is a takeaway or a memorable note you'd like to leave our audience with?
Mm. I think when it really boils down to so much of what I understand now that I didn't then is that nothing in your life is permanent other than taking care of and showing up for your kids. Whether it's like your job, your living situation, your mindset, your habits, your conditioning that you were given, everything. You really have the agency to design your life by your terms. And one of the most powerful things that we can do is get to know, love, and trust ourselves, let go of other people's expectations, and surround ourselves with the type of women and the people who support who we are, where we've been, and where we're going. And so, yeah, I think my tangible takeaway is just the empowered mindset of you are in control of your life. And on any given day, you can evolve. You can shed old identities and try on new ones. And it's okay and beautiful to be wholly, loudly you.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I want to thank our audience for joining us on another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm excited for you to take all of these lessons, all of these resources, all of these diamonds that you've learned here today, implement them, and create even more impact in your world. Until next time,
Mhm.
have an outstanding rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.